Good evening, you're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. Our top story today is the fact that the CBI has raided the residence of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in connection with its probe into the alleged irregularities in the new excise policy. Now, the probe agency has listed 15 accused, including Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, in its FIR. The CBI also carried out searches in 20 locations across 7 states, including residents of former Delhi Excise Commissioner as well. Now, the probe agency is investigating allegations of corruption in the New Delhi excise policy launched by the AAP government in November, under which private players in fact got licenses to liquor shops and they were handed over by the AAP government. Now, Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena accused Mr. Sisodia of procedural lapses in the policy and of giving undue benefits of liquor licenses, in fact, to these private players, and hence he temporarily withdrew the new policy. Now, Mr. Sisodia heads the excise department of the Delhi government. Mr. Saxena has then recommended an inquiry by the CBI into this. Now, the charges, of course, were denied by Mr. Sisodia, who claimed that his government had introduced the new policy to end corruption. Now, following this raid, the Chief Minister of Delhi has said that the centre wants to prevent the Delhi model of governance from being discussed globally. Now, Mr. Kejriwal tweeted, and I quote, "The whole world is discussing the Delhi model on education and health. That is why the Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain was arrested and raids were conducted on the Education Minister Manish Sisodia." End quote. Now, Kejriwal also alleged that the raids took place on a day when the New York Times published an article praising Delhi government schools. Now, he, however, also said that the party's leaders will cooperate with the inquiry. Moving on now, over 6,000 citizens, including human rights activists, have urged the Supreme Court to revoke the remission of the sentences for 11 men who were convicted in the Bilkis Bano case. Now, the signatories include activists Anjali Bharadwaj, Safura Zargar, Cedric Prakash, among others. Now, the statement also noted that they were released on Independence Day, when Prime Minister Modi spoke about women's rights and gender equality during his Independence Day address. To give you a context of what really happened, Bilkis Bano was gang raped during the Gujarat riots in 2002. It was one of the most horrific cases of Gujarat riots. She was 19 and pregnant at the time. 14 members of her family, including her 3-year-old daughter, were murdered by the rioters near Ahmedabad. Now, Gujarat Additional Chief Secretary Home Raj Kumar had said that the government considered the convicts' remission application as they had served 14 years in jail, as well as due to other factors such as age, nature of the crime, etc. In the meantime, speaking to Indian Express, retired Judge Justice U.D. Salvi, who had sentenced 11 men to life imprisonment in this particular case, has now said that it was up to the courts to decide on the Gujarat government's decision to release the convicts. Moving on now, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted intense rainfall during the next 3 to 4 days across East Central India due to development of a depression over North Bay of Bengal. Now, currently, there is 9% excess rain over the country, with 27% excess over peninsular India. Now, 24% excess over central India and 49% rain deficiency over East Uttar Pradesh is what the IMD has said. Also, according to a Times of India report, the Supreme Court has told the National Investigation Agency court to decide on framing charges against the accused persons in the Elgar Parishad case within 3 months. Now, to give you a context, the Elgar Parishad was an event that was held on the 31st of December 2017 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Bhima Koregaon. Now, violent clashes broke out between Maratha and Dalit groups near the village of Bhima Koregaon a day later. After that, as many as 16 people were arrested for allegedly plotting the violence. Now, out of the 16 arrested people, Jesuit priest Stan Swami died at a hospital in Mumbai while in custody. Two other accused people, Sudha Bharadwaj and Varavara Rao, are currently out on bail. Now, while Dalit groups and individuals have accused Hindutva leaders like Milind Ekpote and Shambhaji Bide of instigating the violence through hate speeches before the incident, the focus of the NIA has been on the Elgar Parishad event being part of of a larger Maoist conspiracy to stoke caste violence, destabilize the central government, and assassinate the prime minister. And this is what the NIA is focusing on. Now, the center has transferred the case to NIA in January 2020. Moving on now, according to a panel report accessed by the Frontline, police firing on citizens protesting against the Sterlite copper plant in Tamil Nadu's Thoothukudi district in 2018 was unprovoked and indiscriminate. Now, 13 protesters were killed in the police firing on May 22nd, 2018, causing national outrage and subsequent closure of the plant as well. Now, the protesters claimed that the Sterlite copper plant contaminated the region's air and water resources. The commission was led by former Madras High Court Judge Justice Aruna Jagadishan. Now, noting that the officers certainly exceeded the limit, the commission also urged the Tamil Nadu government to take action against them. Meanwhile, a Mahatma Gandhi statue outside a temple in Queens, New York was vandalized by miscreants, and a second such attack reported in a matter of 2 weeks. Now, 2 weeks earlier, on the 3rd of August, the same statue standing outside the Sri Tulsi Mandir for 7 years had been knocked over, prompting community-wide outrage as well. Investigations are now underway. Now, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said that the relationship between India and China is going through an extremely difficult phase after Beijing's unilateral attempts to alter the status quo at the line of actual control in Ladakh. Now, India and China have held 16 rounds of commander-level talks to resolve the dispute when both sides clashed in Galwan Valley in 2020. Now, these rounds of talks have taken place in the last 2 years. Now, Beijing, in the meantime, has concurred with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's observation that an Asian century cannot happen if India and China don't join hands. In fact, it's said that the dialogue between the two countries to resolve this matter, in fact, is effective. Moving on to news coming in from across the globe right now. Heavy rainfall for 4 days straight have caused floods in parts of New Zealand, which have displaced at least 1,200 people from their homes. Evacuations are underway, and several residents are being warned that they may not be able to return to their homes because that is the level of damage that has taken place. Now, Nelson region is the worst affected, and another 130 mm of rain is expected in the region on Friday night. And our one piece of good news is also a sports news for the day. India has won against Zimbabwe by 10 wickets in the first ODI. Now, Shubman Gill and Shikhar Dhawan hit unbeaten half centuries as India is now leading the 3-match series by 1-0. Now, the next match will be held on the 20th of August, and the final match will be held on the 22nd of August. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching.